or any other person in this case,
noma omunye umuntu kuleli cala,
and that he can speak freely and without fear in my presence.
futhi ungakhululeka njengoba unami.
B. He is also informed that, if necessary, he will be afforded protection against any irregularities
Futhi utsheliwe ukuthi uma ingabe kuyadingeka ungavikelwa uma ingabe kunezinto ezingahambi ngendlela.
and that I will as soon as possible have any irregularities investigated by a senior police official.
Nami ke ngizothatha leso ngizoyenza isiqiniseko sokuthi uma ingabe kunezinto ezingahambi ngendlela ziphenywe amaphoyisa.
C. That this is not a trial
Futhi lokhu akulona icala la kuxoxwa khona.
and that I am not hearing any charge against him.
Nami ke angilaleli ubufakazi noma amacala abekwe kuwena.
Do you understand this explanation and do you accept it as correct? His answer is yes.
Uyazwisisa na lencazelo engisanda kukunika yona futhi wena uyavuma na ukuthi kungaqhutshekwa uthi impendulo yakhona ithe yebo.
Do you wish to comment or have anything to say in this regard?
Ikhona into ongathanda ukuyisho?
His answer is, I believe I need to be protected from a group of people who I was with when this whole thing was committed.
Impendulo ithe ngithemba ukuthi ngizodinga ukuvikelwa kwiqembu labantu labe ngikade nginabo.
Remember that when the first statement was read, the court had already made it very clear in a succinct ruling that nothing that has been faced off from the Ronio form is going to be read into the record. But I am surprised now that this witness is now being led to read what the court has ruled, and it should not be read into the record.
Mr. Baloi.
My Lord, the court will recall that there was a subsequent debate, especially with Advocate Nshololo, and we all agreed that the portions that were excised would then be read into the report. That was the agreement. As the court has now ruled on the admissibility of the statement, the sole purpose of blotting out those portions was that the court should first rule on the admissibility of the statement. But now that the court has ruled on the admissibility of the statements, those portions can now be put in record.
Is that what was subsequently agreed?
Yes. I'm surprised.
2 days ago?
Yes, I'm surprised it's now in
Yeah,
application.
continue, sir.
This is
I
how...
to recall it that way, Mr. Mnisi.
Yes.
And your colleagues and Mr. Baloi, you re-agreed that even the redacted parts must be read. And I told you, you did something very unlawful, telling a judge, "Aye, this document will be redacted." That's why now you're having problems. And I actually quoted a case, 1952, Shaku, which says, you can't do that. I've got to be present when everything concerning this case is read. But you agreed and said, we don't want you to hear what is being redacted. You can continue, Mr. Baloi. I mean,
this is the court, my lord, just my 2 cents worth on this aspect. My understanding, even on Friday, we didn't go this route because the court had already ruled twice to say the relevant form, the part that is redacted, will never be read. And I even said, I'm indebted to the court after
okay.
that.
This was a, remember, it's what I call the ruling.
Yes.
I'm revoking that ruling, and I'll give reasons why. So she must read everything.
As the court cases well.
I'm revoking that ruling, and I'll give the reasons why. Because, like I told you, you stopped a judge from listening to the evidence, you guys, all of you. Now I mustn't even hear what this witness, actually, if you think about it objectively, this is the witness who was, as she says, in the presence of accused number 1.
Accused number 2.
Two. And now, you are arguing, correctly maybe in your view, that no, what she discussed, some of the things she discussed with accused number 2, she mustn't tell the court again about them. Okay? So I'm revoking that ruling, if I ever made it. And I'll give reasons why in the judgment, okay, of the trial within the trial. Yes, sir.
Okay, dan was second voortgaan.
I was already pointed with a finger as a warning.
Begin by die begin, I believe.
I believe I need to be protected from a group of people
Ngithemba ukuthi ngidinga ukuvikelwa kwiqembu labantu
who I was with when this whole thing was committed.
abantu ebengikade nginabo ngalesikhathi lento yenziwe.
I was already pointed with a finger as a warning
Bese sengikhonjwe ngomuno njengokwexwayiswa
when this thing was done,
ngalesikhathi lento yenziwe.
and I was still a young boy.
Ngaleso sikhathi ngangisasemncane.
I'm not sure where else in Gauteng they have been arrested.
Angazi futhi ukuthi eGoli bona baboshwe kuphi.
They were all grown-ups at that time.
Bonke bebabadala kimi ngaleso sikhathi.
I also do not trust the police
Namaphoyisa angiwathembi
since I believe they can be easily bribed.
njengoba ngikholwa ukuthi bona bangahle banikwe imali.
Daar was ook 'n gedeelte wat uitgelaat was wat begin met die woorde I was brought.
There was also a part that was redacted that starts with the part I was brought.
Kunengxenye futhi ukuthi iye yakwathiwa ingafundwa le eqala ngokuthi ngilethiwe.
This relates to the second question, who brought you to my office and for what reason?
Lokho ke kona kumayelana nombuzo wesibini othe ulethwe ubani ehhovisini lami bakulethelani.
I was brought because I was present when a murder was committed, even though I did not do it.
Impendulo ithe ngilethwe ngoba ngangikhona ngalesikhathi kubulawa nangokho mina ngingazange ngimbulale lo.
Yes. You can read the rest of the.
The police told me to come to court to make a statement, and I also wanted to make a statement, and I am happy to make one.
Amaphoyisa angitshele ukuthi ngize enkantolo ngizoyenza istatement futhi nami ngangade ngifisa ukwenza istatement ngijabulile ukwenza istatement.
Ja, dan was as jy kan bladsy oorslaan na bladsy 4,
If you can turn the page to page 4,
paragraaf 9.
paragraph 9.
Asiyeke ku page 4 ku paragraph 9.
Jy kan voortgaan.
I now ask the deponent to tell me in his own words how he came to be brought to my office to make this statement.
Manje ke yena usekabuza umuntu lo olethiwe ukuthi kuze kanjani ukuthi alethwe azoyenza istatement ehhovisini lakhe.
His answer is,
Impendulo yakhe ithe
the police called me and asked me if I know of Senzo Meyiwa's death.
amaphoyisa aye wangishayela ucingo wangibuza ukuthi ngiyazini ngokushona kuka Senzo Meyiwa.
At the police station, it was somehow determined that I was present during his death, and I agreed.
The police station kula ukuthi kuye kwashiwo ukuthi ngangade ngikhona ngalesikhathi ezebebulawa ngavuma nami.
I was asked questions by police which I would agree to or didn't.
ngiye ngabuzwa imibuzo amaphoyisa, imibuzo le eminye bengiyivuma, eminye bengingavumi.
Okay, as you can also na bladsy 7,
If you can turn to page 7,
Ongaya ke
paragraph 30.
page, yes, 7,
paragraph 13.
with paragraph here 13.
Sorry, has she written everything? Has she read everything there?
Well, my lord, in her initial evidence in the trial within a trial, she read out portions that we have left out, but perhaps for the sake of context, if she needs to read everything.
Was that not the redacted,
Uh,
which she has now left out?
No. It was put on record. At
was
the
put on
previous
record.
occasion, yes. Only that portion where it starts with at the SAPS station up to admit.
Up to admit.
Yes.
Okay. Fine. And you say this she read in the evidence she gave.
Indeed, my lord.
Is that so, sir?
Yes. But perhaps it will be
Mevrouw,
how it will be
You can,
no
you
harm.
can interpret for what I'm saying. Het u de gegevens wat bevattend is in die paragraaf allemaal gelees.
That
Het
which
het
is,
toe u getuienis afgeleerd.
when you gave your evidence in the trial, did you read out this which is contained in what you just read now?
Die res wat ek nie uitgelees het nou nie, het ek wel oorgetuig.
The rest of which I did not read now, I did testify about.
Ngalesikhathi
Okay.
uzebe uzilo kokuqala kwi-trial within a trial, uye wafunda na le ngxenye le ongayifundanga namhlanje, uthe okunye engingazange ngikufunde ngiye ngaphana ngobufakazi ngabo.
Okay.
Okay, also so blood says 7 paragraph 13.
We're on page 7, paragraph 13.
Siku page 7 kwi-paragraph 13.
The deponent now makes a statement which is attached hereto as annexure A.
Umuntu lo oze kimi sekayenza manje istatement nasi sikhona lana.
The statement should start or be started on a new page.
Istatement leso sizawuqalwa kwiqephe elinje.
The statement is reduced to writing as he speaks
Lesi statement njengoba elibele ekhuluma siyabhala.
and is written down in the opponent's own words.
Naye ke njengoba ekhuluma sizobhala into azabe ayikhuluma.
This statement consists of 6 pages marked 1 to 6.
Lesi statement lesi sinamapage awu-6 abhaliwe ukusuka ku-1 ukuyofika ku-6.
Each of these pages must also be signed by the magistrate, deponent and interpreter.
Wonke lama-page kwamele asayinwe umantshi naye lo muntu ositshela lolu daba bese netoliki iyasayina.
No questions are asked except such questions as are necessary to clarify aspects
Ayikho imibuzo ezobuzwa ngaphandle kokuthi kube nalayo ukuthi kudinga ukuthi kuchaziswe kahle.
of the statement which are unclear.
Izindaba eyikuthi azicacanga.
Such questions, if any, and the answers thereto are clearly indicated as such.
Leyo mibuzo uma kunjalo uma ingabe iba khona neimpendulo zakhona kuzochazwa ukuthi bekuyimibuzo yokucacisa.
Statement is made in the Zulu language and interpreted into English by the interpreter.
Istatement leso siyenzwa ngesizulu siyatolikwa utoliki esitolikela kwesingisi.
Lando sase confirm na anaso a tot te gaan.
If I can ask you to go to annexure A,
self. Die verklaring self.
the statement itself.
Uma ungaya ke kusona ke istatement uqobo lwaso.
En miskien net voor u begin as u net op record kan plaas wie is hierdie persoon wat die verklaring aflê?
Just before you proceed, if you were to place on the record as to who this person is who made the statement.
Ibambe lapho ngaphambi kokuthi uqhubeke ukufunda ubani lo muntu oyenze lesi statement ewuthi usibhalile.
Volgens die inligting wat ek genoteer het op bladsy 1,
According to the information which I noted down on page 1,
'n ene meneer Bongani Sandisu Ntanzi.
it's a Mr. Bongani Sandiso Ntanzi.
into engiyibhalile kwi-page yokuqala umuntu obekade ekhuluma nami umnumzana uBongane Sandiso Ntanzi.
Kan u ook net daar volgende sin assisted by?
If you just the next sentence assisted by,
Assisted by Mr. Dominic Ntokozo Mjiaku on request on insistence of Mr. Ntanzi.
Manje ungasichazisela ukuthi la kuthiwa ubekade esizwa ubani kuthiwani kubhalwe ukuthi wayekade esizwa umnumzana uDominic Mjiyakho. Umnumzana uNtanzi uyena oye wathi ufuna umnumzana uMjiyakho amsize.
U kan voortgaan.
May proceed.
Verklaring op record plaats.
to place the statement on record.
Yaqhubeka uyafunda.
I used to work in Carltonville in 2014.
May I ask my lord, should it
No,
be
let
read?
the witness read
That's
everything
right.
and then you'll
Thank you.
interpret after. Otherwise, it messes up the record.
I received a call from Sifiso Ntuli.
As u net kan begin, laat ons skus, u was onderbreke, begin by die begin.
If you may start at the beginning.
I used to work in Carltonville in 2014. I received a call from Sifiso Ntuli. He got my number from Muzi. They asked me to come to Basotho Hostel for Sloris. I came to the Basotho Hostel and Sifiso called me to the bedroom. In the bedroom it was myself, Sifiso and Muzi. Whilst in the bedroom, Sifiso told me there was a job that evening. Sifiso and Muzi left the hostel. I remained behind and was drinking and chilling with my friends. Muzi called me to the Vivo vehicle later that evening. He was with Sifiso in the vehicle. When this thing initially happened, we were in Muzi's room and we proceeded to Sifiso's and Ntogosisi's room number 1B. While we were in Sifiso's room, Karos and Ntokoziseni Mapisa arrived. Karos and Ntokoziseni Mapisa then called Kelly Kumalu. They told her that they were all right. We all then left in the Polo Vivo. It was myself, Karos, Ntokoziseni Mapisa, Sifiso and Muzi. At the stop sign, another Polo Vivo came and Karos, Ntokoziseni Mapisa, Sifiso and Muzi alighted the vehicle. I remained behind. They spoke amongst themselves and they spoke with Simpiwe, who came in the other Polo Vivo vehicle. Simpiwe gave Ntokisiseni 2 firearms. We then left. We went to the township for Sloris. At Sloris, we stopped the vehicle. A call came in. I think it was Kelly, and Karos kept on referring to this person as sisters. Karos got out of the vehicle to take this call, whereafter he called Mapisa, Sifiso, and Muzi out of the vehicle. They had a meeting outside the vehicle. They came back to the vehicle. Ntokisiseni took out a firearm and gave it to Karos. Muzi had his own firearm. Sifiso had his own firearm. I was the only one without my own firearm. I had a small one in my pocket, but didn't use it. It was given to me in the vehicle. Carlos said to us, we all had to be positioned since we all are going to hit Senzo Meyiwa. We then all got out of the vehicle. Sifiso was the driver, Muzi was the lookout. Mapiso went to stand by the window, also a lookout for someone who might come out of the window. Carlos and I was supposed to get in the house. When we got to the house, he pulled out a firearm. He ordered everyone to lie down and he demanded phones and money. Carlos then gave me a phone. I had a plastic bag with me. There was a plastic container on the table with money. Carlos gave me the container, which I put in the plastic bag. Everyone was lying down. I believe Carlos was told where whatever he was looking for was. Carlos was about to open something when Senzo Meyiwa stood up. There was then a scuffle between them and Carlos, between him and Carlos, my apologies. During this intense scuffle, Senzo took a chair and hit Carlos with it. It appeared as if he wanted to prevent Carlos from taking whatever he wanted to take from wherever he was opening. Kelly Kumalu was the one who directed Carlos where the thing was, which he wanted to take. During the scuffle, Carlos fired 2 shots. I did not see where Senzo was hit, because when the shots were fired, I went outside. I was still in the house when it was fired, and I left the house as Senzo was falling. I ran out. As I ran out, Ntokoziseni Mapisa came in. I ran and got in the vehicle. They remained in the house. I was there plus minus 5 minutes before they came. As I ran to the car, Muzi was standing outside. All came back, Muzi in front, Ntokoziseni and Carlos were behind him, following him. We drove away from the scene, and while driving, Carlos and Ntokoziseni asked for the phone and plastic container which I gave them. Carlos then said, "Here is my watch." We drove to the hostel and went straight to room 1B. Carlos then pointed to Sifiso and said he must warn me. If any word comes out that they were involved, then he would kill me. Carlos and Sifiso then ordered me to go to the kitchen. The 4 of them, Carlos, Mapisa, Sifiso, and Muzi, remained in the bedroom, and they closed the door. Sifiso then came out and gave me 15,000 rand. I was shivering, since I was never involved in such a thing before. We all left the hostel in the Polo Vivo. At the stop street, Mapisa and Carlos then got into the other Polo Vivo vehicle and left. During the drive to the stop street from the hostel, Carlos kept on pointing his finger at me, threatening me. He was also swearing because I was visibly eating outside the vehicle. I also forgot to mention that Ntokoziseni asked Carlos at the hostel, "Are you sure you really hit him?" At the stop sign, he pointed me with his finger, saying, "I am telling you, you will," and your worship, your honor,
Read
is a
that word.
profanity
Can you
word.
Read it, because at the SCA and the constitutional courts, they won't be having this document.
You will shit.
Yes.
And he said, "A deal is a deal." He also said, "If he hears anything, he will kill me." He doesn't know my parental home, but Muzi knows and he will show him. Muzi walked to his place thereafter. Sifiso then said I must not sleep at my place. He took me to a place in Johannesburg, a flat, after picking up his brother in Davidton. Sifiso and his brother then bought liquor and we drank. I went to sleep. Sifiso came to pick me up in the morning. They dropped me off in Davidton. After 2 days, Sifiso gave me further cash. I got a total of about 45,000 rand. This includes the initial 15,000 rand. I then got in a taxi back to Carltonville. I had to change my cell phone number since they kept on calling me, threatening me. One other year, Kwabini Sifiso called me and asked me if I was going to come to his hometown. I went to his house and called him, but he then told me he is at Muzi's house. I then went to Muzi's house. On my arrival, I discovered there was a meeting which was about to end. I do not know what it was about. In this meeting, the fathers of the guys who held the meeting were present. I was there plus minus 3 minutes. When we were asked if we are not family, we should excuse ourselves from the meeting. Kwabini remained and I went outside. Kwabini later said the meeting was about an altercation between the sisters of Muzi, who threatened to tell the police they had Senzo killed. That's all.
Nas istatement ke asifundayo ilesi bekathe sibuya kuntanzi. Ngangade ngisebenza eCarltonville ngo-2014 ngathola ucingo olubuya kuSifiso Ntuli uthole inamba yami kuMuzi yena wangicela ukuthi ngize ehostel yaseBasuthwini. Ngafika eBasuthwini hostel uSifiso wangithatha wangisa ekamereni kula mina noSifiso noMuzi sasikade sikhona ngaleso sikhathi ekamereni. uSifiso wangitshela ukuthi kunomsebenzi okwamele siwenze ntambama. uSifiso noMuzi baphuma ehostel, mina ngasala emuva. Ngangade ngihleli ngiphuza nabangani bami. uMuzi uye wangibiza, kwafika imoto iVivo ngemva kwesikhathi ntambama khona lapho. Ubekade eNosifiso kuleyo moto. Ithe uma ngingena
The V8 9 this thing initials. Here.
This one.
Yes.
We were
Or
in
we went.
Muzi's.
uma iqala lento sasikade sisendaweni yakaMuzi.
We proceed.
Bese saqhubeka kumthokoziseni egumbini likamthokoziseni noSifiso eroom 1B. Ithe uma silapho uCarlos nomthokoziseni Maphisa bafika. uCarlos nomthokoziseni uCarlos nomthokoziseni Maphisa bafika. Bese ke umthokoziseni washayela uKheli Khumalo ucingo. Uye wamtshela ukuthi sasikade sizilungiselele sizohamba ngemoto iPolo Vivo. Mina ke ngiyengahamba naye uCarlos nomthokoziseni Maphisa noSifiso noMuzi. Stop sign kuye kwavela enye imoto iPolo Vivo la ukuthi uCarlos nomthokoziseni noSfiso noMuzi baye bahlika kuleyo moto. Mina ngasala emuva ngakhuluma, babekade bekhuluma no Simphiwe oyikuthi uye weza ngenye imoto iPolo Vivo. uSimphiwe nomthokoziseni bebakade bephethe ibhamu ezimbini. uSimphiwe wanika umthokoziseni ibhamu ezimbini, hayi ukuthi wayekade ephethe ibhamu ezimbini. Bese ke bahamba, sahamba ke saya elokishini eFosloras. eFosloras imoto iye yama, kwangena ucingo, ngiyacabanga ukuthi kwalikade lisuka kuKheli. uCarlos yena uye wayeqhubeka embiza ethi Sisi. uCarlos uye waphuma emotweni ngalesikhathi ekulelo cingo. uMaphisa noSfiso noMuzi nabo baye baphuma emotweni, baye baba nomhlangano ngaphandle kwemoto. Bona ke babuya emotweni. umthokoziseni wathatha isibhamu wasinika uCarlos. uMuzi naye wayekade ephethe isibhamu sakhe, uSfiso naye wayekade iphethe isibhamu sakhe. Mina ngangikade ngingenaso isibhamu sami. Ngangikade ngingenaso isibhamu sami, kodwa ngangikade ngiphethe esami esikhwameni esincane isibhamu njengoba sasisemotweni. uCarlos uye wathi ke kwamele sizibeke eindaweni njengoba siyoshaya uSenzo Meyiwa. Ithe uma siphuma emotweni sonke, uSfiso wayekade kumshayeli, uMuzi yena wayekade ezobheka, uMaphisa wayekade eyoma ngasefastereni ayobheka ukuthi akekho umuntu ozophuma efastereni. Mina noCarlos sasikade sikwamele singene endlini. Ithe uma sifika endlini, uCarlos wakhipha isibhamu watshela wonke umuntu ukuthi alale phansi, yena wafuna ama-cellphone nemali. uCarlos yena mayeqeda wanginika ifone mina ngangikade nginesaka isikhwama eseplastic ebengikade ngisiphethe. Kulayi ukuthi kuleso sikhwama seplastic bakade kunenye ebekade kuyinto yeplastic etafuleni. uCarlos yena uye wanginika leyo nto lebekade isetafuleni eyikuthi ngiye ngafaka nakhona kuleya nto eyami ebengiyiphethe eyeplastic isikhwama lesiyana. Yonke into ebekade laphayana, wonke umuntu wayekade elele phansi. Ngiyathemba ukuthi uCarlos uye wabatshela ukuthi balale. uCarlos ubengitshela ukuthi zikuphi izinto ebezikade sizifuna. uCarlos yena wayekade esathi uyovula into ethize la uSenzo Meyiwa uye wasukuma, bese kuye kwaba nempi nengxabano phakathi kwabo uCarlos noSenzo, la ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi kula uSenzo aye wathatha isitulo washaya uCarlos ngaso. Ke kwayenzeka ukuthi ubekade efuna ukuvikela uCarlos ukuthi angathathi lezinto bekade efuna ukuzithatha. Kula uKheli Khumalo ubekade etshela uCarlos ukuthi zikuphi zonke lezo zinto. ngaleso sikhathi kula uCarlos ewashaya isibhamu kabini wadubula kabini angizange ngibone ukuthi uSenzo ushayeke kuphi ngoba ngaleso sikhathi isibhamu sidubula bengade ngingaphandle ngangade ngisendlini ngalesikhathi isibhamu sidubula ngiye ngaphuma endlini ngalesikhathi uSenzo ewa ngiye ngabaleka umthokoziseni Maphisa uye wangena phakathi mina ngabalekela emotweni baye basala endlini ngaleso sikhathi mina ngangade ngihleli isikhathi esingalingana nemizuzu emihlanu ngaphambi kokuthi babuye njengoba ngangade ngibalekela emotweni umuzi wayekade eme ngaphandle babuya bonke umthokoziseni umuzi egijima phambili uCarlos esemuva bemlandela siye sahamba ngemoto kuleyo ndawo ngalesikhathi size besihamba ngemoto uCarlos nomthokoziseni baye bacela amafoni la bekade ekwiplastiki engade mina ngiye ngabanika uCarlos uye wathi nali iwash lami siye saqhubeka saya ehosteli saya saqonda eroom 1B uCarlos yena wakhomba uSifiso engexwaya wangikhomba ngomunwe engexwaya ukuthi uma ingabe le ndaba ingaphuma uzongibulala uCarlos noSifiso bona baye bangitshela baye baya ekitchen la ikuthi batshela umsolwa ukuthi aye ekitchen uCarlos uMaphisa uSifiso noMuzi bona basala ekamereni bese ke bavala nomnyango uSifiso uye weza wanginika imali elingana no 15,000 eyikuthi ngangade ngisatatazela ngaleso sikhathi njengoba ngangade ngiqala ukuba ingcenye yento efana nale siye sahamba sonke ehosteli sihamba ngemoto iPolo Vivo stop sign ulayi ukuthi uMaphisa noCarlos bona baye baphuma emotweni bangena kwenye iPolo Vivo mina ngasala imoto yashayela saqhubeka kwesinye istop sign esuka ehosteli kula uCarlos wangikhomba ngomunwe engithusela futhi uye wangithuka njengoba ngangade ngibonakala ukuthi ngangithukile ngikhohlwe futhi nokusho ukuthi ngaphambi kokuthi sihlukane siye bebane baye bama ngaphandle kwemoto ngikhohlwe futhi nokusho ukuthi umthokoziseni uye wacela uCarlos ehosteli uye wabuza uCarlos ehosteli ukuthi unesiqiniseko naso ukuthi umshayile ebuza ngokudutshulwa laphayana kwesinye istop sign uye wangikhomba ngomunwe wathi kimi uma ingabe ngizokhuluma ngizonya wathi ideal njengoba siyenzile uye waqhubeka futhi wathi uma engezwa umuntu ethi uma engezwa noma yini uzongibulala njengoba angazi la ngihlala khona ekhaya kodwa umuzi yena uyazi uzombonisa. Umuzi uye wahamba waya endaweni yakhe uSifiso nabo baye bathi ngingalali endaweni yami bangithatha bangisa endaweni ethize eJohannesburg eflatini after ngemva kokuthi alande umfowabo eDavidton. uSifiso nomfowabo baye baletha utshwala saqhubeka saphuza. I went to sleep. Ngiye ngalala uSifiso uye weza ezongithatha ekuseni. Bangithatha bangibeka eDavidton. Ngemva kwamalanga amabini uSifiso uye weza ezonginika enye imali. Ngiye ngathola imali elingana no 45,000 uma ngihlanganisa nalo ya 15,000 ebengade ngutholile eqaleni. Ngiye ngathatha itaxi ebe ingibuyisela emuva eCarltonville. Ngiye ngafaneka ukuthi ngitshintshe amanombolo wami wocingo njengoba ngangade ngisathukile ngilibele ngithuselwa. Omunye unyaka uGwabeni Sifiso uye wangibiza wangishayela ucingo engibuza ukuthi ngangizoya ekhaya na. Mina ngiye ngaya ekhaya la ehlala khona kodwa wangitshela ukuthi usekhaya kubomuzi. Ngiye ngaqhubeka ngaya kabomuzi. Uma ngifika ngathola ke ukuthi kwakade kunomhlangano obukade ukhona obekade uzophela umhlangano. Mina angizange ngazi ukuthi lo mhlangano kakade go1. Umhlangano loyo abobaba balensizwa engangikade nginazo bebakhona. Ngemva kwezinyanga ezintathu 3 minutes or not months. Bengilaphayana imizuzwana engalingana nemithathu noma engaphansi la ngiye ngabuzwa ukuthi ngangade ngingumndeni na. Uma ngingasi umndeni ngiphume kulo mhlangano. uGwabeni uye wasala emuva mina ngiye ngaphumela ngaphandle. uGwabeni ngemva kwesikhathi uye waphuma kumhlangano obekade uphakathi kwabo nabosisi bakamuzi uGwabeni uye waphuma njengoba kwakade kunengxabano phakathi kwabo nobosisi bakamuzi ebekade bethusela ukutshela amaphoyisa ngakho konke lokubulawa kukaSenzo Meyiwa. Ngiyabonga. Nizwile madam. As the court pleases my lord, the accused nods their head to show they understand.
Okay.
Lando Sasaki kan vra om terug te gaan na bladsy 7.
If I were to request you to go back to page 7.
Ngicela ukuthi ubuyele ku page 7.
By die paragraaf wat begin met die woorde the statement is now read back to the deponent.
The statement that's, or the paragraph that starts that there. Okay, the statement now read back.
The statement is now read back to the deponent and translated by the interpreter.
Istatement lesi ke sesiyafundwa sifundelwa umuntu lo bekade esitshela bese sizotoliwa.
Nou, Landers, kan u in eie woorde vertel, het daar enigiets gebeur toe die verklaring aan hom teruggelees was?
If you were to tell in your own words whether there's anything that happened when the statement was read back to him.
Dis korrek, ons het basies dieselfde prosedure gevolg as wat ons nou gevolg het.
That's correct. We followed exactly the same procedure, the process that we just did now.
Manje ke akusichazisele ke ukuthi khona into eyayenzwa na ngaphambi kokuthi lesi statement sifundelwe umsolwa kuthiwa ke yebo siye salandelela yona lesiqeda kuyenza namanje ukuthi sifundwe bese siyaqoliwa.
Ek het die verklaring ten volle aan hom teruggelees in Engels.
I read the statement in full to him in English.
Mina ngiye ngafunda istatement sonke ngesingesi.
Dit is aan hom getolk in sy gekose taal, naamlik Zulu.
It was then interpreted to him in the language or his language which is conversant in, which is isiZulu.
Ngemva kokuthi ngisifundile istatement lesana siye satolikelwa kuye sitolikwa ngolimi lesizulu.
En het hy my versoek om 'n byvoeging te maak ten opsigte van bladsy 2 van die verklaring.
He then requested me to make an addition on page 2 with regards to the statement.
Uye wangicela ke ukuthi ngigcwalisele kwezinye izinto abekade zikhuluma ku page 2 kwestatement
Wat dan ook gedoen is.
Which was done,
into ekuthi ngiye ngayenza njengoba wayekade ngicelile.
Nou, watter gedeeltes bygevoeg?
which a portion was added.
Die spesifieke deel het aanvanklik gelees, I was the only one without my own firearm.
This specific portion is the one which says, okay, as the witness has read out in English.
La ebekade kugcwaliswa khona kula bekade ithi ngangade mina ngiyimi ngedwa ongenaso isibhamu sami.
Hy het versoek dat ek moet byvoeg die volgende en ek haal aan.
Yeah, this
I had a small one in my pocket but didn't use it. It was given to me in the vehicle.
He requested me to add the following, and I quote, as the witness just read out now, the portion in English.
Manje ke uye wangicela ukuthi ngigcwalisele ngokuthi mina ngangade ngingenaso esami kodwa nginikiwe isibhamu ebekade sikhona ngisinikwa emotweni.
Die gedeelte is weer teruggelees aan hom en hy was tevrede met die totale verklaring.
This portion was then read back to him, and he was satisfied with the statement.
Lento ebekade ethe ngimgcwaliselele yona nayo iye yafundwa umsolwa naye wayekade ejabulele leyo nto ebekade ibhaliwe ebekade ngimfundela yona.
Ek het daarop gevolg en die volgende vraag gevra.
I then asked the following questions.
Ngambuza ke imibuzo elandelelayo.
The deponent is now asked whether he confirms the content of the statement as correct.
Umsolwa uyabuzwa ke ukuthi uyavuma ukuthi yonke into ebhaliwe laphayana kwakade kuyiqiniso.
Answer, yes.
Uphendule yena wathi yebo.
The statement was then signed by the deponent. It was first initial pages 1 to 6 by him in my presence.
Istatement lesi ke siye sasayinwa siqale ngokuthi umsolwa phambi kwakhe uMantshi abhale ama-initials wakhe.
Dit was ook gedoen in die teenwoordigheid van die tolk.
It was also done in the presence of the interpreter.
Futhi lokho kwenziwe naphambi kotoliki.
Waarna sy volledige handtekening op bladsy 8 aangebring is.
Whereupon his full signature was brought on page 8.
Utoliki ke naye uye wasayina ku page 8.
Die tolk het daarna elke bladsy die tolk het daarna elke bladsy ook geparafeer.
The interpreter thereafter then paragraphed or initialed each and every page.
Utoligi naye wabhala ama-initials wakhe kuwo wonke lama page.
En ook haar volle handtekening aangebring op bladsy 11.
She also brought on her full signature on page 8.
Naye Utoligi wasayina la ku page 8.
Ek self het dieselfde prosedure gevolg.
I also followed the same procedure.
Nami ngiye ngalandelela lowo mthetho.
Ek wil net byvoeg hierso dat die deposant ook sy voorletters aangebring het by elke verandering wat of deurhaling wat gemaak is of spelfout wat verander is.
I also want to mention here that the deponent initialed each and every mistake where a mistake was done or where something was added.
Ngicela ukusho futhi nokuthi umuntu lo bekade ekhuluma lesi statement uye wabhala ama-initials wakhe kuyo yonke indawo la kuye kwaba nokulungiswa noma kwagcwaliselwa.
Die enigste plek in die verklaring waar daar 'n byvoeging was die gedeelte waarna ek reeds verwys het waar hy ook geteken het.
The only portion here where there was something that was then added is the one that I just read on now.
Die res is maar spelfoute en
the-
deurhalings.
The rest was just spelling errors.
Izinto ekuthi zethu zagcwaliselwa yilaphayana la bengikade ngikhulume ngakho okunye kwakade kuyimpazamo nje la ikuthi amagama mhlawumbe wayekade engabhalwanga kahle.
Ek het daarna my datumstempel aangedui of aangebring
I then
as aanduiding van die dag waarop hierdie verklaring gemaak is.
I then placed my date stamp to indicate the date on which this was made.
Ngiye ngaletha ke istamp sami se date ebekade ngiye ngasishaya ukubonisa ukuthi lesi statement siyenzwe nini.
Die verklaring was gemaak op 24 Junie 2020.
The statement was made on the 24th of June 2020.
Statement leso siyenzwe nge-24 zika June 2020.
Ek het ook die tyd waarop die aangeleentheid gefinaliseer is en die verklaring klaar geneem is en onderteken is aangedui op die dokument as 17:20. Dit is 20 minute oor 5 namiddag.
I also indicated the time on which the statement was completed. It was made on this page. The time was 17:20, which is 20 minutes after 5 in the afternoon.
Ngiye ngaqhubeka futhi ngabhala nesikhathi ukuthi siqede ngoba isikhathi engisibhalile lapha imizuzu engamashumi 20 ngemva kwehora lesihlanu ntambama.
Alvorens die tyd aangebring was, is die sertifikaat ook deur die tolk voltooi en onderteken en daarby aangeheg.
But before bringing the time or putting the time when this was completed, the certificate by the interpreter was then completed as well as the stamp was placed there.
Ngaphambi kokuthi kuqedwe kubhalwe lesiya sikhathi kuye kwagcwaliswa ke i-certificate sakhe uToliki salethwa i-certificate sakhe esibonisayo ukuthi kwakade kuwuToliki obekade semthethweni.
Hierdie betrokke bladsy is ook deur myself, die tolk en die deposant onderteken, ek self by wyse van 'n volle handtekening en die deposant en die tolk by wyse van hulle initials.
And this particular page that I'm referring to was then initialed as well as signed by myself, the interpreter as well as the deponent. The full signature was, with regards to myself, it was the full signature and the deponent as well as the interpreter initialed.
Futhi ke naso leso certificate sakhe uToliki siye sasayinwa yimina umusolwa yena wayenza ama-initials wakhe noToliki naye wayenza ama-initials wakhe waphinda wasayina.
Die tolk se volle handtekening is onder aan die sertifikaat, direk onder aan die sertifikaat aangebring.
The interpreter's full signature can be seen just right below the certificate by the interpreter or by interpreter.
La uToliki asayine khona kuyabonakala la.
Van die record op watter bladsy verskyn hierdie sertifikaat deur die
Just to
Bladsy-
place it on record, which page does this appear on?
Bladsy 9 van die Rania vorm.
It is page 9 of the form.
Manje thina ke sikhuluma ngo-page bani njengoba kukhulunywa ngalesi statement ngalesi certificate soToliki uthi sise page 9.
Landos as ek kan net from die paragraaf, die boonste paragraaf of bladsy 8 net op record kan plaas.
If I were to request you to place on record the top paragraph of page 8,
The statement is now signed by the deponent by means of his signature
Manje
or
ke
print.
ake usifundele lapho phezulu ku page 8 uthi istatement siyasayinwa umusolwa noma angahle afake isithupha sakhe.
En daar is die woorde deponent. En wat staan daar bo die woord deponent?
there's the word there, deponent, and what appears there just above the word deponent.
Volle handtekening van die deposant.
It's the full signature of the deponent.
Kunala kubhalwe ke umuntu lo bekade esinika istatement yini ebhaliwe phezulu kwalelo gama uthi isignature.
As ek die aandag kan vestig op bladsy 2 van die verklaring.
If I were to take you to page 2, I draw your attention to page 2 of the statement.
Die gedeelte wat jy gesê is bygevoeg.
The portion which you said or you mentioned as having been added.
Gedeelte van daai stuk wat bygevoeg is onderstreep. Kan jy net aan jou verduidelik waarom is dit gedoen?
A line is drawn on a portion of that part which you said was added on.
La uthi utwalise khona unomugqa obhaliwe lapho.
Dit was 'n lyn wat ek getrek het op die bladsy aangesien hierdie 'n lyntjies papier is en dit was maar net 'n riglyn om dit wat bygevoeg moes word te kan inskryf sodat dit nie invloei in die ander gedeelte nie.
Seeing that this page is or this document, it has lines on it. It was just a guideline just to indicate where it had been added on.
Lo mugqa lo njengoba ikuthi leli phepha linemigqa ngangade ngiyenza umugqa ukuthi kubonakale ukuthi kugcwaliswe ukusukela lana ingahle ithikazise lokhu okubhalwe ngaphansi.
Ek wil net ook hier byvoeg dat daar nie vrae gevra is oor hierdie byvoeging en dit die gevolg was van die byvoeging nie. Hy het met die tolk werk uit sy eie